Hi everybody. Today I'm going to walk through very quickly how to bring in the first person from the starter assets to add that into the game. I've got here the goalpost demo. There's a video that walks through how to create this. Right now all that happens is we press play and the ball falls onto the ramp through the goal once for 1 point, bounces off and comes back for 2 points. A game where you don't get to do anything is not very interesting though. So let's take a look at how to bring in the starter assets. We'll go to Window and then we're going to go to the Asset Store first. I already have this as part of my assets, but I'll show you what I'm looking for here. So if I say Starter Assets and search, the one I'm looking for is, if we scroll on down here, we should see, if we can find it. It didn't take. All right, we're going to try this again. We're going to add a Unity on there so that we know that we're looking for the one from Unity. The search has gone through, and you'll see that there are these two. There's the third-person character, and there's the first-person character. This is the one that I want, so you select it. Yours would say add to my assets or something like that, and then eventually you'd get an open in Unity. So you open in Unity, you say go ahead and let it open, and it brings up your package manager. You can access this from any time, at any time, from the window menu, package manager, right under the asset store there. And you'll see in here it's my assets. The ones that are in my project are here. So I'm just going to go back to my assets because I've added it to my list. And you'll see I've got a few options here. The third person is already part of it, and the first person is here. And the first person is the one I want right now. So I'm going to tell it to download. And then I'm going to import it. And it may say it's got dependencies, so I install or upgrade. Also, sometimes you'll see one that talks about the input system. You definitely want to let it go to the new input system for this if it does bring that up. That'll involve restarting Unity and bringing it back in, and you may have to go through this import process again because it wants to set up those inputs before it imports the assets of the first person character controller. So once these scripts are done compiling, there we go. Now it says, hey, this project is using the new input system package, but the native platform backends for the new input system are not enabled. Do you want to enable the backends? This will restart the editor and disable the old input APIs. Yes is the right answer. We'll let this zoom through. Yes, you want to save the current scene. Let it restart Unity for you. And I'm not going to worry about updating Unity just now. It brings me back up to my package manager. And notice that down here, I'm going to shift windows here. My assets don't include the starter assets yet. So Command tilde will let me switch windows on Mac here, and I have not yet imported the starter assets, so I've got it. I don't need to download it. First person character controller, I import that, install or upgrade those dependencies, and now it just brings me this window. Leave everything checked and you can import. And now we're rolling. All right, so we've got it in. We can see it here under starter assets. So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to use the triangle to open it up. And I'm looking for the first person controller and then the prefab. So I click on that. And the one that I'm looking for, I'm going to reduce the size here until I get to a list. This nested parent unpack is what I want. So I drag that up, and it shows up as this giant capsule, and everything is going to be scaled wrong. But we can work on that. And then what I want to right click on that and go to the prefab option and unpack completely. Notice a couple things here. It's going to take this and give me this whole canvas. If I can zoom out enough to see it all, let's just double click on it. There we go. It gives this whole upright canvas for the sake of touch controls, but I don't have those. I'm not targeting a touch screen, so I'm going to just right click on that and I'm going to delete it. Double click back on the nested parent unpack, and you could give that character a name now. Notice now that we also have a main camera inside of that by default, and we have a main camera up here. So I'm going to right click and delete this camera. I'm going to choose this one and maybe move, well, I don't want to move the camera. I want to move the whole thing. Notice that it's all over here because of the way that things are set up. It's a little difficult to work with sometimes. Let's go ahead and move it up a little bit. And we'll press play. And that should be enough to get us working with, get that down into there. So we got 2 points. And I can't actually move the ball because I don't have a collider in the right place at this point that's going to do anything. Let's see if we can fix that real quick. So if I say the player capsule, it has a controller, but we don't have, let's try this push layer here, and we'll let it push everything. I went over it, but I'm not, oops. All right, this is a whole other matter. If we play again. There we go, we're able to push it back now. We've got 3 points. It would need some refinement, obviously. Let's go ahead actually and see if this can push and maybe add a little strength to it. We'll go back in. I'm running into the bars there because I am too tall for them. There we go, that's a little better. Alright, so with can push enabled, we'll stop playing. Remember, I was playing when I made that change, so I need to do that out of there. Give it a little more strength. That's another thing you want to fine tune. So the approach we're going to take now, if you go into that nested parent unpack, you can go into the player capsule and then find the capsule. And I think what's going on here is that that capsule is farther off the ground than we really want. So one approach that we're going to use just for now is to just drag the capsule itself, not the whole player capsule, down a ways. We try it with the whole thing, but then you see we're bringing stuff down into the ground. So I'm just going to do the capsule. If we edit that collider, you can see that it stops there and the ball is there, so I think we're just stepping on it instead of actually moving it. So I'm going to take that capsule and my move tool, drag it down closer to the ground. You could also switch to a box collider if you want to get rid of that curve in the collider, but we're fine, I think, for now. So we see I still look like I'm nice and high off the ground, like I've got some height to me, but if I do this, then I'm actually hitting the ball instead of just stepping on it. So now I've got 3 points. Stop the ball, and I can start to kick it around some more. I could try adding some more strength to that push, but that's kind of where we're at. So feel free to play around with those things and make it work the way that you want for your game. This also might be a game that is better with a third-person character instead, which works very similar. Gotcha, there we go. So I got 8 points. 9 points. Let's see if we can get it up to 10 here before we wrap this up. Or if I'm, there we go. We got 10, and we can see that my trigger is probably a little bit outside the goal. There we go. Thanks, everybody.